Do you know what is this here? These are my predator plants. I feed them with dead crickets. Although in the wild, these plants are eating the insects alive. Apart from the plants with jaws, I've got also a different type. This one. This vegetation has got sticky tentacles which embrace the poor fly or mosquito before eating it. Why am I showing you all this? Because you can find such predator plants in the park, which I'm gonna show you today in Kew Gardens in London. Aside from all these plants, you can also find in the park the stinkiest plant in the world, the loneliest plant in the world, gigantic water lilies, this weird construction, several trees planted in the 18th century, this walking path situated 18 meters above the ground, etc., etc. My name is Dimitri and I'm your guide to underrated attractions around the world. So let's get started. I think all of you know how a beehive looks like. Something like this, innit? But one of the weirdest spots in the park is this 17 meters tall structure. This is a model of a beehive designed by the British artist Wolfgang Buttress. What is so strange about this place? You can hear already these sounds. Actually, this giant hive is connected to a real beehive, so the orchestra is playing or vibrating in unison with the buzzing of the bees. The lights are flickering on the same principle. The amazing thing is that you can step inside this massive construction and maybe listen better to the relaxing sounds. Or you can walk beneath this structure. But the most interesting place at Kew, in my honest opinion, is Princess of Wales Conservatory. This is a glass house which consists of 10 climate zones. To be fair, it's a bit weird feeling when you exit the premises with cacti and you see evergreen plants in front of you. However, the most fascinating here are the carnivorous plants. The room with this predator flora is kinda in the middle of your trip through the conservatory. I didn't find any vegetation with jaws like that one I showed you in the beginning. The majority of the plants here are pitcher plants. This flora attracts the insects by the smell of its nectar. The unlucky fly or wasp lands on the edge of the pitch, and because the edge is slippery, it falls inside the digestive fluid. In the conservatory you can also get acquainted with ferns, many different cacti, weird flowers. And amongst all this beauty peacefully flow some artificial waterfalls. And another surprise from Mother Nature is this gigantic plant, which you can also find in Princess of Wales Conservatory. Titanarum may be the stinkiest plant in the world. Whilst blooming this flower, yes, this is a flower, so this flower sends a not very pleasant smell to attract the insects. To be very honest with you, it's not a smell, but a stench. An overpowering stench of rotting meat. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's gonna be very unlikely for you to feel the amazing fragrance of decaying meat, cause our flower blooms once in several years, and the blooming process takes maximum 48 hours. Mother Nature has got sense of humor. The next spot is one of the most picturesque spots at Kew. You can find here vegetation from mountainous regions. The flora here represents almost all the continents. Along with the plants, you can see also here artificial waterfalls, tunnels and rocks. I presume because of the rocks, this area is called Rock Garden. At the end of the rock garden is situated this weird construction where you can find not just mountainous plants, but the most resilient amongst them. In order to thrive up in the mountains, they need kinda constant draft. Hence the shape of this building, which has two entrances and they're open all the time. I can't say for sure about the other places at Kew Gardens, but in the Alpine house you'll definitely see plants which you'll hardly see anywhere else. Unless you're an alpinist. So I strongly advise you, if you decide to come to the park, don't miss this place. Come and take a look at these small but very weird and rare plants. I have promised you at the beginning of the video to show you gigantic water lilies. Here you are. Sorry, this is the wrong footage. I made it a couple of years ago while the lilies were not so big. These are the right pictures. amazing, innit? This lily is Victoria amazonica, one of the largest water lilies in the world. As we can see from this picture made at Kew a century ago. Yes, the leaves are so strong that a child can float on top of them. The Lily house is a tiny glass house situated next to the palm house. So don't miss it. And also, behind the Lily house is situated this gigantic oak, which allegedly has the biggest tree crown in the park. Let's move now to one of the main attractions at Kew, the trees. They deserve special attention because there are plenty of trees in the park, 14,000 to be more precise. And many of them are, let's say, very special. For instance, some trees have been growing here since the 18th century. Amongst them, the most interesting are the so-called 5 lions. The first one, Oriental Plane or Platanus orientalis, is situated exactly in front of Kew Palace. It's this giant here. The second one is the Pagoda tree. I don't think you will miss it because this ancient plant is situated almost in front of the HIVE. The third one is called Black Locust. You can see it far away there. The fourth one is Caucasian Zelkova. In front of the Temperate House there are 2 of them. I don't know which one belongs to the 5 lions. And the 5th tree, Ginkgo biloba, is in my honest opinion the most interesting. If you leave the HIVE and go this way, you'll definitely see it. It's that tall tree. This plant is called also the tree that outlived the dinosaurs, because the species of this family appeared 290 million years ago and the dinosaurs a bit later, about 50 million years later. Apart from that, the dinosaurs are extinct now, whilst Ginkgo biloba you can find at Kew. By the way, if you plan to visit Kew and you want to know the exact location of all these trees, you can use this amazing map. I'll leave the link in the description below. I've done several pictures of the trees, specially for you. Aside from all the trees you've seen already, you can find on the map also the location of the tallest trees in the park. I think you know already which trees do I mean. These ancient giants are dwelling mainly in this area of the park. Perhaps they're not so tall like those in America, but quite impressive anyway. There is always something blooming in the park, even when it's quite cold outside. I made this footage, for example, if I'm not mistaken, in March. But the best time to come here is obviously this summer. Everything is blooming. The birds are singing. It's a pity you cannot feel the fragrance through the monitor. You know what? The good thing about Kew is that even if you miss any plant blooming, when you come next time to the gardens, some vegetation is going to bloom for sure. Just take a look at all this beauty. In the park you can get acquainted with the life of the bees in a hive. Besides, you can get closer to the life of the birds. And by closer, I mean literally closer. I'm walking now on an amazing path which is 18 meters above the ground. This route is called Treetop walkway, and it was built in order to bring us closer to the tree crowns, so we could see where and how the birds live. To be fair, I haven't seen any nest there, but the view from above is quite decent, innit? Frankly speaking, the next garden, it's called the Mediterranean Garden, really surprised me. It's a small oasis of plants native to the Mediterranean. Obviously, there are different kinds of vegetation here. Palm trees, flowers, shrubs. However, the most interesting is situated a bit to the right of the main path. Some olive trees found their asylum amongst all these flowers and bushes. And also, if you like drinking wine, in the Mediterranean Garden you can get acquainted with the plant which is vital for the wine industry, the cork tree. Although nowadays more often are used rubber wine stoppers, the cork still plays an important role for wine lovers. There are several cork trees here, so if you want to study the cork tree's bark closer, you better examine this log, because it already lays on the ground. As soon as you enter the premises, you will be welcomed by the main attraction of the Palm House, Encephalatus altensteini. Although this palm-like vegetation can be found in different botanical gardens around the world, this particular specimen is really unique. Do you know why? As you can see, it's situated in a pot. So this plant has been living in this very pot since the end of the 18th century, which means this is the oldest pot plant in the world, and Serphalatus belongs to cycads family. Even though this flora's leaves resemble palm leaves, the cycads are entirely different kind of species, and they appeared much earlier on the face of our planet than the palm trees. These plants are so ancient that they're even called living fossils, because like Ginkgo biloba, they have outlived the dinosaurs. There is one more very interesting cycad in Kew Gardens, but in order to see it we have to move to the Temperate House. That vegetation is Encephalatus woodii, the loneliest plant in the world. And I'm not joking now. Why is this plant so lonely? In order to propagate, that means to produce new plants, this cycad needs a male and a female plant. But the problem is that only male plants have been found in the wild. And all of the Encephalatus woodii which exist today have been propagated by cuttings, and all of them are males as well. The plant itself is next to the entrance of the Temperate House, so when you come here, don't forget to visit this amazing flora. The Temperate House itself is a Victorian-era glasshouse where you can find plenty of vegetation native to all world's temperate zones. So now I'm gonna shut up and let you take a small tour around the Temperate House in silence. If you go a bit further from the Temperate House, you'll see this ruined arch and also the so-called Great Pagoda. This Chinese-style construction was built in the 18th century and it had one of the best bird's-eye views in London at that time. This is the view from the top, by the way. And you can enjoy it also nowadays, if you pay £4.5 extra and if you're ready to climb the stairs to the top. I have to warn you, it's not so easy a task. Or maybe I'm getting older. However, what I liked more in this area is this picturesque Japanese-style garden. When you come here, it's highly likely you will meet these birds. I suppose these peacocks live somewhere next to the pagoda. Apart from the Japanese garden, there is one more place in Kew which is dedicated to the land of the rising sun. That's the bamboo garden and the Minka house. Big variety of bamboo is presented around the house. Can I be fair with you? I had no idea that this vegetation has so many species. Tall bamboos, short ones, thick, bent, etc. etc. Incidentally, the Minka house is surrounded by young ginkgo bilobas. If you take a look at the map, you'll see several ponds in the park. This unusual bridge is called Sackler Crossing and it's situated above one of these ponds. And today's video I'm gonna finish with Kew Palace. This palace is the smallest amongst the royal palaces. Nowadays the palace is used as a museum. It's a 3-story building where you can take a closer look to the life of the royal family, namely George III and his wife Queen Charlotte. They used the palace as a summer home whilst living here with their small family. They had only 15 children. I forgot to say, in the southern part of Kew Gardens is situated this gorgeous tiny house. It's called Queen Charlotte's Cottage, and there's quite an interesting fact about this place I wanted to tell you. Next to the house was situated kind of small zoo, which was inhabited by this weird animal. This is an extinct animal nowadays, and in fact this is the only specimen of quagga photographed alive. To be honest, it was photographed not in Kew but in London Zoo. Also in the paddock next to Queen Charlotte House were kept the first kangaroos to arrive in England. By the way, if you want to get acquainted with Kew Gardens more thoroughly, I've made some videos where I'm walking with my camera for several hours around the park. In all of the videos I used classical or just beautiful music as soundtracks. Check it out because some of the melodies are not very popular but quite underrated, in my honest opinion. Our excursion in the park has finished. Thanks for watching and good luck!